Today we're going to be looking at some Ukrainian war footage. I have not seen either of these videos all the way through yet. I've seen little snippets of them, so we're going to see me react in real time to what they are from a Western standpoint of being an Abrams tanker. So we'll just kind of, without further ado, just get started with this. Guys, loading up HE shells. I believe these are HE frag shells. Unhappy face. Stick it into the carousel. There goes the powder. Stationary fire. Unclear if this is in training or what this is. Let's go back and look at that thermal real quick. Look at that thing. That's for the commander, because the gunner's over on the left, so this is the commander's point of view right here. Those of you that know your thermals. It's better than nothing, I'll just give it that. Ooh. Or evacuator's not really doing its job, but yeah. Guys are cruising around T-72s. It's hard to tell really what they're shooting at. Whether or not this is training or in real life or combat. I take everything with a grain of salt. If it says combat footage, there's a good chance that it could be from training as well. Now, for the meat and potatoes, thank you to United 24 for capturing all this, putting all the who is what on top of the captions here so we can see which units are which. We've got BMDs right here and a bunch of dismounts cruising around. So let's go ahead and get started and see what is afoot. This is Chasiv Yar. It's a Leopard 2. Interesting. Ukrainian units held their positions and responded with counterattacks. The footage is kind of spliced together, so it's hard to tell if it's actually all from the same battle, but it does look generally like it could be, so. There is information that they are hiding in this building. The tank gets close to the target, aims its gun at the windows on the first floor, and fires. So they roll up right underneath the building and fire. Mind you, this tank is by itself. I don't see a additional tank, so it does not look like it has a mutually supporting asset, and that's just, again, one of the ways that Ukraine is kind of manned and structured. They don't have a massive armor formation that they can afford to just move into somewhere. They are relatively decentralized. And as one tank goes out, it is swarmed by drones. They don't really have a lot of jammers on these things. The problem seems to be resolved, but after a while, the same thing happens again, and the enemy takes advantage of this. The drone strikes directly at the track. Just missed it. This does not produce the desired result. Sucks to suck. In leaving the dangerous area. Later, the tank commander shows the results of these strikes. There is only yeah, they got contact one and cage armor all of this thing. And now, let's see how the Russians are trying to take Chasiv Yar. Moves towards the city of Chasiv Yar. This party consists of I love how they just put all their logos all over absolutely everything. Like there's 5 unit things. Like how do you even tell what's going on? Because everybody's got their freaking unit logo on there. Ukrainians are ready for defense. One of the APCs hits a mine. It loses control and slides to the roadside, letting the others There, that's a good battle drill. No telling if that's actually from this battle. That guy could have hit a mine. Again, when you get spliced video, it's hard to tell if it's specifically from that battle.
And this group gets even closer. It's becoming very dangerous. But Ukrainian drones are already waiting for them. A precise strike destroys the first target. Chaos begins. In an attempt to retreat, a tank runs over a mine. And an APC becomes the target.
They're gaggled. So dispersion is not really a thing.
It's a direct hit. Another APC tries to complete its task. A drone tails it and strikes. Right after that, the target is finished off and left burning in place. But the attack is not
interesting. It looks like a completely different area, but maybe that's just the perspective of the drones. This is my first time watching this, so I haven't cross-referenced everything yet.
Drones are waiting for their moment.
Boom!
Stops this target. The Ukrainians closely monitor the situation. As soon as the smoke clears,
everything has Overwatch. Absolutely everything has Overwatch until you're able to use your SHORAD or your directed energy to knock those observation drones down.
The enemy APC is stopped. Excellent work. Another APC breaks through. But if several Ukrainian drones are chasing you, the chances of success are almost...
Yeah, and these guys do not have drones. They don't have jammers on their vehicles. They're... Boom, that's all she wrote. When you are rolling out by yourself without those force multipliers like your jammers, they're not rolling out inside of a jamming bubble because they're obviously being swarmed by drones. Those are RF drones from what it looks like. These are radio frequency drones. Although the fiber optic drone would have the very similar effect. The current standoff for that really is APS shotgun, which is extremely risky, but it's a method. And then now coming online is that AI-enabled commander's remote weapon station that is able to be able to like engage those things with about 3 to 5 rounds. But we'll see. I really recommend that we put flat cannons on vehicles. It'd be a very easy engineering change to be able to put something like a flat cannon on or a flat gun that just kind of shoots shrapnel as a last line of defense as the AI or the sensors detect that there's an incoming drone, which is relatively easy to do with the technology we have on board nowadays, or well, very shortly with M1E3. It's
They are preparing for the assault. The soldiers split into 3 groups.
all right. We've got a pair of Russian BMDs. It looks like these are paratroopers basically. And whenever you get spliced video like this, it's difficult to tell whether this is actually from the battle or whether it's just some random B-roll footage they have from something else.
And an APC tries to leave the area.
And they're probably not operating inside of a jamming bubble, which means that they're susceptible to drones. They're taking indirect fires.
Along with regular shells, cluster munitions are also used.
Taking accurate indirect fires. Generally, you want to get off the X when that happens. You want to get the hell out of there. You don't want to just sit there with your hand in your ass.
Several more hits. The operation has failed. The enemy failed to gain a foothold. Nearby, a drone detects Russian movement. They're moving through these pipelines, thinking they are safe there. This is their shelter.
Guys living in holes in the... That's wild. And these guys, like, they can't afford a jammer. Everything is very much ad hoc. Very little standardization. This is what works.
And it easily passes the places where the defenses used to be and delivers the final strike. Mission accomplished. Absolutely incredible.
Hell of a way to go, hiding inside of a tunnel.
Enemies are still in the pipelines.
Sending drones into the pipes.
Drones are destroying their vehicles. Each drone easily completes its task. One strike is enough to
So when I'm talking about jammers, jammers would disrupt the signal, even if it has like a AI lock on, depending on the distance. It would disrupt the signal from the operator to the drone. If you can do AI enabled lock on at distance, that can be negated.
A drone makes the first strike.
There's obviously no jammer on that T-72. Ugh, right into that.
It blocks the rest of the column while under heavy artillery fire.
And now they've got to do a react artillery drill. The guy on the right's in a good hold down position.
Abandon the useless armor, and the artillery keeps striking the immobilized targets, trying to destroy or disable them.
Yeah, they're in a rough spot.
Has failed, and the tank that caused it is destroyed by a drone. One precise strike sets it on fire, and the target slowly turns into charred scrap metal. Two APCs break closer to the city. They're driving on the road, but turn into a field before a dangerous section.
Now they're in open road.
Artillery tries to interfere.
Artillery hit him.
An APC rushes into the assault at
You gotta push through it.
Hitting them would be
Dude's hit.
difficult.
Maybe.
Ukrainian drone
And then here comes the drones. They don't have jammers, so they're basically just like, as soon as they get through that artillery, the pre-plots, or whatever it is, then they're swarmed by drones. Which is why this is like example A, why large areas of the front haven't moved much. Because this happens to basically anybody's vehicle on either side right now. They'll be sensed by high altitude or medium altitude bombers. They'll call for artillery, or they'll just swarm them with drones.
This footage is from the Kupiansk region. Russians are ready to attack. The APCs make
You got a section of vehicles, 2 vehicles.
On the way to their positions, a target meets a Ukrainian mine. The APC is
Oof.
stopped in the middle of the
That's a mobility kill right there at the very least.
The AFU decide to use cluster munitions. Another APC
And now they're getting hit with more indirect fires.
precisely hits it. The Russians drive up to the destroyed APC and immediately turn back. The second drone tails it and strikes.
Pretty cut and dry.
The third drone finally delivers a critical blow.
There's really nothing they could do without jammers.
A very strange attack.
They're just going to get hit and hit and hit.
Take a look at this tank. It was moving into the assault, but
And the jammers have to be able to jam the right frequencies. But what if they've got fiber optic? They have to have an air guard with a shotgun.
first strike.
And even that is a
It's a dire
very risky idea. It's better than nothing, but it's very risky.
immobilized.
You'd have to have somebody actually up there looking and engaging.
Another strike. It looks like the tank is trying to shoot down incoming drones with its gun, but this doesn't work. The tank tries everything possible. It releases smoke. It tries to back up, but everything is useless, and they call for backup. Another tank arrives. The AFU expected this and prepared a drone for this situation. While the infantry moves from one tank to another, the drone manages to approach and tail them. Just one precise strike.
And this is why it's so important to have counter drone forces as well. That's one of the new things that's recently coming out, is that there are counter drones. So as drones are launched, well, we have our own drones to go knock those drones down.
This Russian APC is heading towards the tree line.
This is something like that Leonidas would be very useful right now, being able to hit and neutralize these drones overwatching this. And they're helping target for artillery. They're able to call up additional drones to be able to go target the armored formation. But there's also a ton of mines. I mean, you're seeing these guys right here. They got the engineer tape off here. With that tape you're seeing, that is supposed to be a proofed lane that was free of mines. Well,
It's a
was
total
it?
failure. Thank you for watching. Subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our videos.
Well, so overall, a lot of brutal lessons were learned. Um, they can't fight. The Russians and the Ukrainians cannot currently fight like we have traditional doctrine for. They can't roll out in a platoon. They can't roll out oftentimes in a section. One, because they don't may not have the amount of tanks in that sector. The other one may be broken, um, or the crew may be on a rest cycle or something like that. They will generally roll out with one tank and maybe a couple of APCs, but they run an extreme, and they can only be out for a little bit, um, because there's constantly Overwatch. And the jammers that are in theater right now are not necessarily able to mitigate all of the threats that are out there. So while wide area jamming for RF is prevalent in some areas, it's not able to stop all the threats because you still have fiber optic. That and there's tons of mines all over the place. So mines pose a particularly nasty threat for armored vehicles. Um, it's just one of those things. Some valuable lessons learned for the crews there, and for hopefully all of you who are potentially looking at something like this and maybe chewing on it and thinking, what kind of TTPs can you develop? Tactics, techniques, and procedures. That's what TTPs are, to kind of harden your armor formation. What can you do based off of what you saw? Would more dispersal help? Would integration of SHORAD help to be able to knock down those reconnaissance drones? And then how do you, once you knock down those reconnaissance drones, they're not going to be able to target you as easily with artillery because bracketing via binoculars is going to be a hell of a lot more challenging because you can't oftentimes in a flat field like that properly analyze depth versus when you're looking from direct overhead observation, it's not going to be as easy to bracket. Um, just some food for thought. I appreciate you guys coming on, hanging out. New videos every Tank Tuesday. As always, treat them rough. Join the tanks.